I'm going to go over a topic called using a given zero to write polynomial as product of linear factors. I'm looking for the real zero ones. Okay, this one right here. Okay, let's take a look. I'll do about 2 problems. So for a polynomial below, 3 is a 0. So what that means is that I should be able to divide. I wish I had my notepad with me. I don't. So I'm going to have to try to do the division over here, and let's see how it look. So I am going to do a synthetic division. I'm just going to make this up. What will it look like? All right, I'm just trying to do a synthetic division right here. I will put 3 in this my little box because I said 3 is a 0. And then let me go ahead and list the coefficients. 1 because it's 1x cubed, and -9 because it's -9x squared. What's the next number? Next number is 20, and I need to make a couple more tables. The next number is -6. This is just me trying to type my synthetic division because I don't have my pen with me or my iPad with me. But you've seen this before. Let me see if I can try to change these borders a little bit so that I may do no borders. I will do no borders, and I put some borders around this guy. Hold on a second. I think I can make it look more like a synthetic division setup. Yep. Take a look. And then I will draw a straight line. I feel so proud of myself. Okay, guys, I'm about to do a synthetic division. I bring down the 1, multiply 3 times 1 and get 3. And I'm adding -9 plus 3. That will give me -6. Multiply 3 times -6, that is -18. If I add 3 plus -18, that is +2. If I do 3 times 2, that is 6. And guess what? The remainder is 0. Awesome. What does that tell us? Not only that they were right, that 3 is a 0. So what I get to say is x minus 3 is one of the factor, right? But not only that, now I get to work with the quotient. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and write the quotient down. Because who knows? Hey, this may be factorable. The quotient is 1x squared. 1x squared minus 6x plus 2. What we do is we must set this equal to 0. We must set this equal to 0 and solve for the additional zeros. Is it factorable though? I don't think it is, because the only number pair that multiplies to give you 2 is 1 times 2, and they're not going to add up to -6. So unfortunately, I'm going to show you that I will be solving this by either, it's up to you. You can do the quadratic formula, or you can do completing the square. I like the completing the square, so I'll do this by completing the square method, okay? I will temporarily move this 2 to the other side. So I subtract 2 from both sides. That's why this 2 is on the other side. And what I do is I will now need to complete the square. I'm going to add a number to both sides. What am I going to add to both sides? So something will go right here, and I will also add to this side. Now look, to complete the square, I take the half of the middle number and I square it. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides. Why did I do that? Because now take a look. X squared minus 6x plus 9. This can be factored. That can be factored into x minus 3 squared. Okay? This is called completing the square. And 9 minus 2 is 7 on the other side. And I go on. I take square root of both sides. If I take square root of the left side, I will be left with x minus 3. The right side, though, will have plus or minus square root of 7. Okay? Now, the last thing I need to do is just move this -3 to the other side. So, x is finally equal to +3 plus or minus square root of 7. So this method is called completing the square. But if you don't like this method, there is a backup plan. You guys know how to do quadratic formula. You can do that. But once you have your zeros, 3 plus or minus 7 I guess I can go ahead and separate these. I can go ahead and say the first 0 is 3 plus square root of 7, and the other 0 is 3 minus square root of 7. Using this, I should be able to write the other factors. Because remember, guys, a factor is always x minus c, or the 0. So I'm going to say x minus this, and the other factor will be x minus this. So take a look. I will be typing over here. So on the first one, I'll do parenthesis x minus 3 plus square root of 7. I have to close two parentheses because I put this guy. I should group these two terms in a parenthesis. That will make it easier for us to see. Hold on. So once I put these in a parenthesis, you see exactly what I'm doing, right? I'm doing x minus this parenthesis, and I'm going to do x minus this. So parenthesis x minus another factor of 3 minus square root of 7. I get out of that square root and I will close two parentheses. So that's how you do this. Let's go ahead and click on check. So you need to know how to solve a quadratic that is not factorable. That's the hard part of these problems. But when they gave you one of the 0 to start, you can break down a cubic into a quadratic, and then we can use quadratic formula or completing the square. Let me do one more, okay? So I'll click on more practice problem. And the next one they gave me is this. For the polynomial below, -1 is a 0. So guess what? Automatically, x plus 1 is a factor, okay? Because factor is always x minus the 0. So if you do x minus -1, that turns into x plus 1, okay? Now, we're going to use the -1 to break down this cubic into a quadratic. We're going to do one synthetic division. So, all right, let's take a look. I may be able to copy this brilliant table down here. Okay, so what am I going to put? I will put -1 in this little box. And then I need to change the coefficient. The leading coefficient is 1 for the 1x cubed. Next one is 5. Let me delete these. Okay, and the next number is 6, and the last number is 2. Let's do the synthetic division. Bring down the 1 exactly the same here. Multiply -1 times 1, which is -1. Add 5 plus -1, that's just 4. -1 times 4 is -4. Add these, 6 minus 4 is 2. And lastly, -1 times 2 is -2. If I add them, I get the happy little remainder of 0. So now we're going to work with this quotient of, type this, maybe I'll just borrow this format up here. What I have is 1x squared plus 4x plus 2, right? Looking at these three numbers, 1x to the second power plus 4x plus 2. Now we have to solve this. They really made sure that we get none of these quadratics that is factorable, so we're gonna have to go with, you choose your method, okay? I'm a completing the square kind of person. So I first moved this plus 2 to the other side, made it -2 on the other side. And then I think about what should I add to both sides. And the number that you add to both sides is always the middle number half squared. So what is half of 4? Half of 4 is 2. And 2 squared is 4. So I decide to add 4 to both sides. Why? Because if I add 4 to both sides, I can complete the square on the left side. Take a look. The left side will factor into x plus 2 squared, isn't it? That is, this trinomial is x plus 2 times x plus 2. So I can write it as x plus 2 squared. And the other side, if I combine these two numbers, -2 plus 4 is +2. All right, let's keep going. We need to now take square root of both sides. If I take square root of both sides, I will get x plus 2 straight out of that parenthesis. And then on the other side of the equal sign, I will need to put the plus or minus sign, and I will have square root of 2. Okay? Now, the last thing that I need to do is just subtract 2 from both sides so that x can be by itself. So I will have x equals negative 2 plus or minus square root of 2. So we got two answers so far. The first answer is the first answer is negative 2 plus square root of 2. The other answer is negative 2 minus square root of 2. So if I put these in these grouping symbols to write the factor form, here we go. Take a look. I'm going to do factored form, x minus negative 2 plus square root of 2. I have to click on this button, square root of 2. And I will go out and close two parentheses. It's always x minus. It's always one of these zeros. The other one, parenthesis, x minus. And I need to put this guy in there this time. Another parenthesis opening, negative 2 minus square root of 2. So that is how I will enter my final answer. But I need to do some side work to find the zeros. And these are very similar to the last page, the last example that we went over. So let me go ahead and click on check. They're not easy, but oh, absolutely, you can do them. It took me about 6 minutes or 5 minutes to do one problem. They're longer type of problem because take a look. All these work. Not only that you must remember how to do division correctly, you need to remember your solving quadratic skill. Like mine was completing the square. If you remember quadratic formula better, go with that method, okay? But the good news is we're going to do this a little more in section 2.4, but instead of rational numbers like square root of 7, or irrational numbers like square root of 7 and square root of 2, in section 2.4, we're going to get imaginary numbers, but then the process will be almost the same. And I will also use completing the square method. So I will teach you this, teach you similar problems more, but I can also point, I think I'm going to go ahead and send you another video where we went over these as a class example. But that's enough for me. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and I will send this to you.